What is a fact that can possibly save your life? When having a heart attack, you don't swallow aspirin, you chew it. Do not delay getting out of a burning building. The flames are not what will kill you. The smoke will get very thick and toxic very quickly and you will not be able to see the way to get out. Airplane depressurizes and the masks drop. Put your damn mask on first, as instructed. At 35,000 feet you have 30 to 60 seconds of useful consciousness. Make it count. This obviously won't work all the time. But if someone grabs you by the arm, don't pull away, twist your arm instead. Your arm goes nearly all directions but their wrists won't. Maybe not your life, but someone else's. Most drowning is silent. The victim quite literally cannot speak to call for help, as they're too desperately trying to get any air at all. Drowning can look simply like a person bobbing in the water until they no longer come back up. Keep a watch out, especially if it's kids. Probably said already, but bad CPR is better than no. Even if you're unskilled, you literally cannot make the person more dead, as being dead is what predicates CPR. If you have a puncture wound to the chest or abdomen, the first thing you should do is place a non-porous, think plastic bag, object over the wound. It will help prevent tension pneumothorax. A tourniquet is quite simple to put on and can save a life if there is no other option. Place close to the site or near, not on, a joint. Never remove a tourniquet once placed, as clots can travel to the brain and lungs. Also mark the time you put it on. If you're at an accident scene and have no medical training, something you can do is collect information and help calm victims. This is quite helpful as it assists the paramedics with triage and keeps potential injured person's heart rates down. Alternatively, learn how to hold C-spine. If your car ever gets stuck on the train tracks, look for a sign on the crossing arms. This is the Railway 911. And has a number to call to stop traffic as well as your exact location. If you've been cut deeply, pack gauze into the wound as tightly as possible, then hold pressure. If you are driving in inclement weather, pay attention to truckers. They are often warned ahead of time of wrecks and things due to their radios. Also, never drive in the rain without headlights. Soy sauce is deadly if consumed in large quantities at once, so no stupid soy sauce dares or challenges please. If you ever almost drown to the point of throwing up water or passing out, even if you feel 100% fine, get to a hospital. Your lungs can unwittingly self-fill up with fluid over the next few hours. This is a New Zealand specific one, but all emergency numbers work here. The official number is 111, but 999, 000, 911, etc. will all work. This is so that tourists can still reach emergency services easily. Chest compressions are important regardless of mouth-to-mouth. Edit. Wow, thanks guys. I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. There are many questions in the comments. Please keep in mind I am not a medical expert. I was trained for first aid and emergency response in the outdoors in New Zealand but do not have any professional medical training. I encourage everyone who can to get a first aid certificate or at least some training. I generally follow the doctor's ABC steps. D. Danger. Is there anything around that can put you in danger? R. Response. Is the person responsive? Talk to them, or gently rub their collarbone. S. Send for help. Call emergency services. Make sure someone stays on the phone. And someone with the person. Airways. Check if the airways are free. Sometimes there is just something stuck there. Tilting the head back can free and open airways. B. Breathing. Is the person breathing? Holding you here close to their mouth and nose is one of the most effective ways to notice if someone is not breathing. C. Circulation. Check their pulse. There are two main ways of doing this. There is a vein on the underside of the wrist and one on the underside of the jawline. Once you have checked the person in this way, start chest compression. The location for this is the center of the chest just under the armpits on the sternum. For adults, use both hands. For children, use one hand, and babies either one hand or a few fingers. The chest does need to be pressed quite hard, about half a thumb to a thumb of depth. Obviously use common scene. Use a song to keep in time. Staying alive or another one bites the dust work well. If you are comfortable, you can give breath to breath twice for every 30 compressions. Do not do Thea if you are alone. Keep the chest compressions going. The compressions are the important part as they keep the circulation of oxygen to the brain going. You may have to take turns with someone. It can be exhausting. Ask if there is a defibrillator around. It should have further instructions for use. If you don't feel comfortable using it, don't use it. Chest compressions are the important part. Even if you don't have the training, follow these steps. ILT saves lives. If you're being tied up, Puff yourself out as much as possible so it'll be easier to wiggle out of. Tense muscles. Inhale deep and stretch out your arms and legs to make more space. If your vomit look like coffee ground, you are bleeding internally. You need to go to the hospital. Coffee ground vomiting. If you smell a fish smell in your house. Some people also report a urine-like smell. For no reason. 9 times out of 10 it means there's an electrical fire. If you get impaled or stabbed, leave the object in and call 911. Or your country's equal. That object is keeping all the blood on the inside of your body. If you are ever buried in rubble, earthquake, tornado, building collapse, etc., don't shout. You'll lose your voice and waste energy. Instead, grab a piece of rubble and knock in patterns of 3s. Humans are expert pattern makers and pattern notices. Rescuers will hear the distinctive pattern sound and go toward it. Once you can hear people, then use your voice. Edit. Cite my source. I learned this from the podcast The Big One. It's about how to realistically survive a massive earthquake day by day with certain scenarios. If someone is in trouble and you want to leap in to save them, make sure you have a way to get out yourself. I recently saw a video of a drowning man. Another man jumped in to try and save him. Instead, both drowned. If you're visiting an unfamiliar location like a cinema or concert hall, take a few moments to look around for the nearest exit. Then pick out a second as a backup in case the first becomes blocked or cut off. If something happens, especially in a crowded public place, most people's first instincts are to turn around and head for the main entrance, but this is not always the closest, safest or easiest way out. 9 times out of 10 there will usually be a closer exit. Maybe not your life but possibly others. In an emergency situation, pick one person to specifically call 911. In lots of stressful or emergency situations there are significant delays in calling 911. Some people assume that others will call 911 while others panic, freeze up and don't think to call 911. If you're faced with a situation where 911 is necessary, pick a specific person to contact 911. If the ocean is retreating, there is a tsunami coming. Evacuate the beach immediately. If a tornado looks like it isn't moving, it's heading right towards you. If you get kidnapped, try to leave as much traces of yourself behind as you can. For example, leave bits of clothing behind or scratch your arms a lot to leave dead skin behind. This way you increase your chances that a search dog could pick up your scent and find you. Not for yourself, but someone else. First aid in general is not meant to be the only form of aid a person receives. If you give someone CPR, or use a defibrillator on them, or they have a severe allergic reaction requiring an EpiPen, you should still call emergency services immediately. These are just temporary measures to buy time until a medical professional can treat them more thoroughly. Similarly, chewing aspirin for a suspected heart attack still requires emergency services to treat the issue or rule out complications. There are no rules if a stranger puts their hands on you. Yell, scream bloody murder, kick, bite, make the biggest scene you possibly can and run away as fast as you can. Make sure your kids understand that this is the exception. The time they must draw as much attention as possible and do anything it takes to get away and get help. Never ever place an extension ladder on a smooth concrete floor and climb it unless the feet have rubber pads attached to them. Otherwise there is a very real risk that as you climb higher, your weight will cause the feet to slide out from under you because there is very little friction between aluminum and smooth finished concrete. I've climbed ladders countless times and then one day I did this and it almost killed me, shattered my wrist and almost broke my back. Life forever altered. If you have an ice breakthrough in a pond or lake, do not use your upper body to pull yourself out. Place your chest against the edge and only kick as fast as you can to get yourself over the hump. The water splashing around you overflows in most cases and the continued kicking propels you, and you slide on your ribs and belly. Push yourself. Don't pull yourself. If your car goes into the water, open the door or roll down the windows immediately. If you don't, the pressure differential will hold them shut and you'll have to wait until the car fills up with water. Edit. A lot of people are telling me that on newer cars, the headrest poles can be used to break a window. I'm not sure if that's true. Because headrests I've seen are just made of ordinary steel. And the ends aren't particularly pointy. A dedicated window breaker will have a sharp point made of an ultra-hard material. Does anyone know if newer headrests are actually made for this? Edit 2. It seems headrests are not designed specifically to break windows. But they can in a pinch if the proper technique is used. And they can actually be removed. Putting the point in the corner of the window and slamming the headrest. Double-check advices in this thread with your own research. Do not inflate your life jacket before exiting the aircraft. This is especially true in case of emergency water landings. A Sani air safety expert would tell you, inflating your life jacket inside a rapidly submerging airplane will cause you to float up to cabin ceiling. Unable to move without help. The right thing to do is to take a deep breath and swim out of the airplane with your life jacket still deflated. Only when you're safely out of the plane should you pull the inflation cord. I read somewhere if a stranger gets in your car and tells you to take them somewhere, drive into something like a lamp post or anything, you won't be useful to them anymore because the car is damaged and you've drawn attention to them by crashing the car. You'll damage your car but you'll have your life in your bank account. Someone at my college did this a few years ago. The guy told him to drive to the bank and withdraw all his money, so he drove into a lamp post and saved himself.